actually, with all the conscripts, we have much more military force than we would actually need to keep the Russians out, and they know it. So I don't think they are going to make any more mistakes.
It does now look as though Finland is preparing to formally apply to join NATO. What do you make of that?
Well, if you look at the opinions in Finland during the past few weeks, then a big change started actually the day Vladimir Putin decided to start a war against Ukraine. So all of a sudden, you had 65-70% of the Finnish population say, okay, it's time for us to join NATO. So there is a huge popular support for this decision. And then the politicians actually came in slightly afterwards. That's something which sometimes happens in politics.
But this is quite a process that you will have to go through to actually join NATO. And it already seems like there might be opposition from NATO, such as Turkey, which is a quite significant power in the alliance.
Yes, we saw the news from Ankara, but we didn't take it too seriously because if you know Mr. Erdogan, then he's usually out for something else. So he uses probably this as a penny to get something which he would want to have. So I don't think that will, in the end of the process, be an obstacle. The same goes for Hungary, I think, also. That's what in Finnish political parlance is called a late milking, but it's not always nice. But I think we can overcome it.
Well, let's just have a listen to what your Prime Minister, Sanna Marin, has been saying in the last few minutes. This is what she said about the prospects of joining NATO at that news conference, which is going on while we are on air.
We have reached today an important decision in good cooperation between the government and the President of the Republic. We hope that the Parliament will confirm the decision to apply for NATO membership during the coming days. It will be based on a strong mandate. With the President of the Republic, we have been in close contact with governments of NATO member states and NATO itself. I wish to thank the support we have received so far. In Finland, we still have the parliamentary process ahead of us, but I trust that the Parliament will debate this historic decision with determination and responsibility. Thank you.
Well, that was Sanna Marin speaking there. Nils, I know that you have long supported Finland joining NATO. What do you make when you hear that quite historic announcement?
Well, if you like irony, then I should send a small telegram of thanks to Vladimir Putin, because without his sort of double-minded support, we wouldn't have probably made it as nicely as we do now. If you look at the Finnish Parliament, I think so far 169 had said they are for it, of 200, 10 are against, and some are still undecided. But I think it will sail through the Parliament with an overwhelming majority, and then it's up to the rest of the NATO member states to take care of it.
What about Russia's response, though? This is the last thing that President Putin wanted. He has been trying to curb NATO expansion. President Putin actually phoned your president to say that he thought this would be a mistake. Are you worried about some form of retaliation?
Actually not, because if you look at how the Russian army performed in Ukraine, and we are much better prepared. So, and if you look at the numbers of tanks destroyed, Russian tanks destroyed in Ukraine, I don't think they have the material even to start thinking about it. So, of course, they are going to protest. That's part of the politics. But I don't think we have any reason to be very upset about this. They are sort of forced to say something. But on the other hand, what President Niinistö said the day before yesterday, they should look in the mirror because they actually created this situation.
Your country has a border more than 800 miles long with Russia. Is there a sense already that that needs to be reinforced, that you need to be prepared for possible provocative actions along that border?
No, we might see something. We have seen in the past few weeks, we have seen some airplanes coming into Finnish airspace. We have seen some other form of foolish behavior, but we don't need to be afraid because we actually have a very well-equipped army. We have actually with all the conscripts we have much more military force than we would actually need to keep the Russians out, and they know it. So I don't think they are going to make any more mistakes. They have made a huge, gigantic mistake in Ukraine already. So I don't think they can afford a second one of the same kind.
There's also this new security partnership with the UK. The Prime Minister was there in Finland as well as in Sweden, signing this deal for mutual cooperation, vowing that Britain would support Finland if there is some form of attack or retaliation. How significant do you think that deal with the UK is, which can start pretty swiftly, whereas it's going to take some while for this NATO membership to actually come into place?
Well, while we are waiting for the ratification process, and that could go swift, but it could take some days or months or weeks or whatever. So in this meantime, we need some greater security in case of somebody thinking of doing something terribly stupid. And when you look at NATO in general, then you see that the northern flank of NATO is very much depending on UK. And now after Sweden and Finland joining, the northern flank will be actually much more powerful because you have all the 5 Nordic countries and then you have the UK there. So I think from a military point of view, I think it's a great decision and creating more stability in this part of the world.
Do you think, though, that NATO is moving closer day by day with the additional weaponry and military hardware that it's sending to Ukraine, with the increasingly robust messages that you're getting from including our own Prime Minister Boris Johnson, that NATO is moving closer to some form of confrontation with Russia, that there is a real risk of that?
No, I don't actually think there is a risk. When you look at the Russian propaganda, they are, of course, always stressing that it's NATO doing this and that, and the NATO is sort of the bad guy at the block. But I don't see. Actually, NATO has been very careful not to go into a trap where they could overstep what is acceptable from the Russian side. The problems are actually more in the way in which the Russian army operates, because probably they still operate in the same way as before. You are actually allowed to make decisions just on division level, and that's in a modern war is, as we can see from the traces in Ukraine, that's a catastrophic approach. But it's very typical for authoritarian regimes.
Just one final point, briefly, if you could. I know that Russia has already cut electricity supplies to Finland. I mean, is that a serious decision? Does that seriously affect your energy supplies?
No, actually not, because we have been building a French nuclear power station that's been built for almost 20 years. Not very efficiently working, but now it's sort of up and running. So I think we are very well off in this situation. We know that in the long run, there will be severe consequences, but the severest consequences are actually for Russia, not for us. But we will have some bumps in the roads, for sure.
Nils Torvalds, Finnish MEP, former presidential candidate. Really good to speak to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Just a reminder there that while I was talking to Nils Torvald, we heard confirmation from Finland's Prime Minister Sanna Marin that the government has approved a bid for Finland to join NATO. It will have to go through Parliament, but there does seem to be a huge confidence there in Finland that they